My discussion topic for today is Jonathan Edwards in the 20th century. In this class, we've been talking about how Jonathan Edwards is relevant to us today, that his philosophy is still very current. He was ahead of his time, and people are studying him more than ever, 300 years after he died. So I think we realize that he still has significance today from all of these things. But I was looking at some articles, and they were talking about looking at his theology and looking at the history that of the time that he lived in, how that was so important when trying to delve into the different treatises that Jonathan Edwards wrote. I thought it was very interesting that the information that he wrote about David Brainerd has never been out of print since it was originally printed. That's incredible to think that after all these years, there was not a period of time when that was off the shelf. I also was looking at some people that were rather detractors of Jonathan Edwards, saying that people are very idealistic, that think they can find anything relevant from something that to them seemed even rather dated at the time, the Puritan being so strict and life not being lived quite that strictly. But Jonathan Edwards was always following what he believed to be God's will. He knew that the Bible was what he should read and that he should study that, and that was his main goal, was to follow and do the right things every day. I know one of his detractors was saying, for a guy that was so smart, he really made a mess of it when he was preaching against inoculations, and therefore he died of smallpox because he didn't get inoculated. So he was kind of throwing aspersions on the fact that maybe he wasn't quite as smart as everybody's trying to make him out to be. And I was reading another person that was, and there were two different people, Leo Gallo and Oliver Crisp. They both were talking very negatively about him. And I only say that because it isn't universal. Not everybody thinks that Jonathan Edwards had something to say to us today. But I think that we can see, especially after our studies, that he did have a lot to say to us. And the theology and the history go hand in hand, and we need to know what happened, in his time, to understand why he was writing what he was writing and how it applied to them there, but how it applies to us now. And we can be very thankful that the Lord led Perry Miller to sort of rediscover him after there was a long absence, because we do know that it says in Hebrews 13:8, Jesus Christ the same yesterday, today, and forever. That's exactly what Jonathan Edwards preached. That's the same today. Nothing's changed. So there may be some outdated things that surround things that he said, but the basic message that he had is timeless, and we can learn from it, and we should study it, and it is worth our time. It is worth the effort, and we can definitely benefit from studying Jonathan Edwards. He was totally God-centered, and we all should strive for that. That if we could be as centered as he was, it would really be a benefit to each and every one of us. Thank you for listening.